Military protocol required the president to shake hands with every soldier, but when Trump saw Sergeant Davis, he froze and didn't extend his hand. Because according to CIA records, Sergeant Davis had officially died as a martyr in Afghanistan in 2004. But let's go back to the beginning. The morning of November 15, 2019, was crisp and clear at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, home of the 101st Airborne Division. President Donald Trump had arrived for a scheduled ceremony honoring veterans who had served in Operation Enduring Freedom, the long-running campaign in Afghanistan that had shaped American military policy for nearly 2 decades. The event was designed to be a routine presidential appearance, a photo opportunity that would demonstrate Trump's support for the military while providing positive coverage for both the administration and the armed forces. The White House advance team had coordinated every detail with military protocol officers, ensuring that the ceremony would proceed with the precision and dignity befitting such an occasion. Approximately 200 veterans had been selected to attend the ceremony, representing different units, time periods, and theaters of operation from the Afghanistan conflict. They stood in formation on the parade ground, wearing their dress uniforms adorned with ribbons and medals that told stories of courage, sacrifice, and service to their country. The protocol was straightforward. President Trump would walk down the line of veterans, shaking hands with each soldier while photographers captured the moments for posterity. It was the kind of event that both military leadership and political handlers loved, dignified, patriotic, and virtually impossible to turn controversial. At least, that's what everyone expected. As President Trump began his walk down the line of veterans, accompanied by General Patricia Hayes and other senior military officials, everything proceeded according to plan. The president shook hands with Master Sergeant Rodriguez, who had served 3 tours in Helmand Province. He stopped to chat briefly with Staff Sergeant Chen, who had been wounded by an IED blast in 2008. He posed for photos with Sergeant Major Williams, whose unit had conducted high-risk reconnaissance missions along the Pakistan border. The cameras captured each interaction, and the White House press pool took notes for their later reports. This was exactly the kind of event that reinforced Trump's image as a president who respected and honored military service. But when Trump reached Sergeant First Class Michael Davis, something unexpected happened. Davis stood at attention, waiting for the customary handshake that every other veteran had received. He was a distinguished-looking man in his early 40s, with graying temples and the bearing of someone who had spent decades in military service. His uniform displayed the Combat Infantryman Badge, the Bronze Star, and several other decorations that indicated extensive combat experience. As Trump approached, their eyes met, and for a moment that seemed to stretch far longer than the few seconds it actually lasted. Both men froze. Trump's hand, which had been extended toward Davis, slowly lowered to his side. The president's face showed an expression that those who knew him well had rarely seen, not anger or irritation, but something closer to shock or recognition. Davis remained at attention, but those close enough could see a slight tremor in his jaw, as if he were struggling to maintain his military composure. Trump, without saying a word, stepped around Davis and continued to the next veteran in line, leaving Sergeant Davis standing there without the handshake that military protocol demanded. The moment was captured by multiple cameras, and within hours the footage was being analyzed frame by frame by news outlets across the country. Political commentators speculated about what could have caused the president to break protocol in such a visible way. CNN ran segments asking whether Trump had deliberately snubbed a veteran. Fox News defended the president, suggesting that perhaps he had simply been distracted or that there had been some kind of security concern. MSNBC brought in body language experts to analyze the interaction. Social media exploded with theories. Some suggested that Trump had recognized Davis from a previous negative encounter. Others speculated that there had been some kind of security alert that only the president had been aware of. Military veterans groups expressed confusion and concern about the breach of protocol. The White House press secretary, when asked about the incident during the next day's briefing, provided only a carefully worded statement. The President has tremendous respect for all our military veterans. Any suggestions to the contrary are completely unfounded. The President's interaction with each veteran was appropriate and respectful. But when pressed for details about why Trump had not shaken hands with Sergeant Davis, the press secretary simply said, "I'm not going to provide a play-by-play of every moment of the ceremony. The President honors our veterans, period." The non-answer only fueled more speculation. What made the incident even more puzzling was Sergeant First Class Michael Davis's impeccable military record. According to publicly available information, Davis had enlisted in the Army in 1998, just after graduating from high school in rural Montana. He had been deployed to Afghanistan 3 times between 2002 and 2010, serving with the 75th Ranger Regiment in some of the most dangerous areas of the country. Davis had been awarded the Bronze Star for actions during a firefight in the Kunar province in 2009, where he had helped evacuate wounded soldiers under heavy enemy fire. His other decorations included the Army Commendation Medal, the Combat Action Badge, and multiple service ribbons indicating deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan. After leaving active duty in 2012, Davis had worked as a military contractor, providing security training for Afghan National Army units. He had settled in Tennessee, not far from Fort Campbell, where he worked as a civilian employee supporting veteran transition programs. From every outward appearance, Davis was exactly the kind of veteran that any president would be honored to meet, a career soldier with an exemplary record of service and sacrifice. So why had Trump's reaction been so unusual? What the media and the public didn't know, what couldn't be known at the time, was that Sergeant Michael Davis's official military record contained a significant omission. According to classified CIA documents that wouldn't be declassified until 2024, Sergeant Davis had died in Afghanistan on March 15, 2004. At least, that's what his official status showed. In reality, Sergeant Davis had been recruited for a highly classified joint CIA military operation called Operation Silent Guardian, which involved embedding special operations soldiers within Taliban and al-Qaeda networks to gather intelligence on high-value targets and planned attacks against American forces. The operation required participating soldiers to officially die in combat, allowing them to assume new identities and operate without any connection to their previous military service. This provided them with complete operational security. If they were captured or killed during their undercover work, there would be no official record connecting them to American intelligence operations. On paper, Sergeant Michael Davis had been killed by an IED explosion near Kandahar on March 15, 2004. His family had been notified of his death. A memorial service had been held. His name had been added to casualty lists and memorial walls. In reality, Michael Davis had spent the next 6 years operating under deep cover in Afghanistan and Pakistan, providing intelligence that led to the capture or elimination of dozens of high-value terrorist targets. His work had saved countless American lives and significantly disrupted enemy operations in the region. The operation was so classified that only a handful of people in the entire U.S. government knew about it: the CIA director, the Secretary of Defense, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, and the President. In 2004, Donald Trump was a private citizen with no official role in government or military operations. But his extensive business connections in real estate and entertainment had brought him into contact with intelligence officials and military contractors who worked on classified projects. Through a series of business relationships and informal consultations that would later be documented in declassified CIA files, Trump had been briefed on certain aspects of Operation Silent Guardian. The briefing had been authorized because Trump's casino operations in Atlantic City had been used as meeting locations for intelligence officers who needed secure venues for operational planning. Trump had been read into the operation not because he needed to know operational details, but because his cooperation was required to ensure that the intelligence community could use his facilities without compromising ongoing missions. During one of these briefings in late 2004, Trump had been shown photographs of the soldiers who were participating in Operation Silent Guardian, including Sergeant Michael Davis. The briefing had been conducted by CIA Deputy Director Robert Chen, who had emphasized the absolute secrecy required to protect the lives of the undercover operatives. "These men don't exist anymore," Chen had told Trump. "As far as the world is concerned, they died serving their country. If anyone ever sees them again, they cannot acknowledge that recognition. Their lives and the lives of other operatives depend on maintaining their cover." Trump had signed multiple non-disclosure agreements and had been warned that revealing information about the operation would constitute treason. When Trump saw Sergeant Davis standing in formation at Fort Campbell 15 years later, he immediately recognized him from those classified briefings. But Davis wasn't supposed to exist. According to every official record, including records that Trump had access to as president, Michael Davis had died in Afghanistan in 2004. Trump's failure to shake hands wasn't a snub or a moment of distraction. It was the instinctive reaction of someone who had just seen a ghost. In that moment, Trump faced an impossible situation. Military protocol demanded that he shake hands with every veteran, but his classified knowledge told him that the man standing before him was officially dead. Acknowledging Davis publicly would potentially compromise ongoing intelligence operations and violate the strict secrecy requirements he had agreed to 20 years earlier. Moreover, Trump couldn't be certain whether Davis was still operating undercover, whether his presence at the ceremony was part of some ongoing operation, or whether acknowledging him would put Davis or other operatives at risk. So Trump did the only thing he could do under the circumstances. He honored the security protocols he had been trained to follow, even though it meant enduring criticism and speculation about his motives. The truth about Operation Silent Guardian and Sergeant Davis's involvement remained classified for 5 more years after the Fort Campbell incident. It was only in 2024, as part of a broader declassification initiative, that CIA documents revealing the operation's existence were released to the public. The declassified files confirmed that Operation Silent Guardian had been one of the most successful intelligence operations of the Afghanistan war, providing information that prevented numerous attacks on American forces and civilian targets. The operation had officially concluded in 2010, and the participating soldiers had been given the choice of returning to active duty under their real identities or maintaining their cover identities in civilian life. Michael Davis had chosen to return to his real identity, but the transition had been gradual and carefully managed to avoid compromising the security of other operatives or ongoing intelligence operations. His official military record was quietly amended to show that he had survived his 2004 deployment, but the details of his subsequent service remained classified. When Davis appeared at the Fort Campbell ceremony in 2019, he was there in his official capacity as a Veteran Services Coordinator, not as part of any ongoing intelligence operation. But the security protocols surrounding his previous classified service meant that acknowledging him publicly without proper authorization could still have compromised sensitive information. Following the declassification of Operation Silent Guardian, both Trump and Davis were finally free to discuss what had happened at Fort Campbell. In a private meeting arranged through mutual contacts in the intelligence community, the two men were able to address the incident that had puzzled observers for years. "When I saw you in that formation," Trump told Davis during their 2024 meeting, "I thought I was looking at a dead man. I had been told 20 years earlier that you had given your life for your country, and suddenly you were standing right in front of me." Davis, who had understood Trump's reaction from the moment it happened, replied, "Mr. President, I knew exactly why you couldn't shake my hand. I had been hoping that someday the truth would come out so that people would understand what really happened that day." The meeting was cordial and respectful, with both men acknowledging the impossible position that circumstances had created. Trump expressed his admiration for Davis's service and sacrifice, while Davis thanked the former president for maintaining operational security even under intense public scrutiny. When the declassified documents were released in 2024, Both the Trump administration's handling of the Fort Campbell incident and Davis's extraordinary service record were viewed in an entirely new light. Military historians praised Operation Silent Guardian as an example of the kind of innovative intelligence work that had helped turn the tide in the Afghanistan conflict. Davis was finally able to receive public recognition for his service, including decorations that had been classified for 20 years. He was awarded the Intelligence Star, the Defense Superior Service Medal, and several other honors that acknowledged his contributions to national security. Trump, meanwhile, was vindicated in his handling of the Fort Campbell ceremony. Critics who had accused him of snubbing a veteran were forced to acknowledge that he had actually been protecting classified information and honoring security protocols that had been in place for decades. The incident became a case study in the challenges that presidents face when classified information conflicts with public expectations and political protocols. It also highlighted the sacrifices made by intelligence operatives who serve their country in ways that can never be publicly acknowledged. The story of Trump's handshake refusal and its eventual explanation became a powerful reminder of the complexity of national security operations and the personal costs borne by those who serve in classified capacities. For Sergeant Davis, it meant 20 years of having his death mourned by family and friends who couldn't be told that he was still alive. For Trump, it meant enduring years of criticism and speculation while being unable to explain his actions without compromising national security. The incident also sparked broader discussions about the balance between government transparency and operational security, and about the sacrifices made by intelligence operatives and their families. Most importantly, it served as a testament to the dedication of soldiers like Michael Davis, who had been willing to give up their identities, their families, and their normal lives to serve their country in the shadows, asking for nothing in return except the knowledge that their sacrifice had made America safer. When the full story was finally told, both men were recognized for their commitment to duty. Davis for his extraordinary service as an undercover operative, and Trump for his discipline in maintaining operational security even under intense public pressure. Sometimes the most important acts of patriotism are the ones that can't be explained until decades later, when the security of the nation no longer depends on keeping them secret. The end. If this story showed you how national security sometimes requires difficult choices that can't be explained for decades, hit the like button and subscribe for more incredible political and military stories. Share your thoughts in the comments below. What would you do if protecting classified information meant being misunderstood by the public?